נתנאל, מה קורה?
מה המצב?
מעולה, אנחנו שוב פעם אצלך.
פעם אנחנו אצלי.
הפעם אצלך.
עם אותו יין?
עם אותו יין, with the great wine. אבל אתה יודע, זרקתי עכשיו את המילה באנגלית, אתה יודע למה?
אנחנו נדבר באנגלית.
אנחנו הולכים לעשות פרק פעם נוספת באנגלית. אז בואו, קודם כל בשביל שניתן כבוד לבן אדם שמולנו, אנחנו נעבור עכשיו לאנגלית. אז צופים יקרים, מאזינים יקרים, היום הפרק הולך להיות באנגלית. So from now on we will speak in English. So in today's podcast we are going to talk about a special topic called rapid tasking. And for that we brought the most experienced and professional person that you all might know, and I know that he is the most professional person. Daniel, you want to say who is it?
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. James Bach. How are you doing?
How are you, James?
Hi, I am very happy to be here.
We are unbelievable. I can't even know what to say. Thank you for having the time, spending time, gave us the time. I know you are a very busy person, and it was very important for us to meet you, to hear you. Your name follow you in unbelievable great things. I know that most of our listeners know who's James Bach, but want to tell us a little about yourself?
Well, thank you for your kind words. Sure, I'll tell you a little about myself. The big thing is I've been in the field for 42 years. And when I say that, I'm not telling you the number of years because I want to impress upon you how accomplished I am. I'm saying that because I want you to understand that I've lived through history. I was here before Agile was a thing. I was for long before Agile was a thing. I was in this business. I started as a teenager on January 1st, 1983. That was my first day of work as a video game programmer for a fella who walked into my place of work. I was working at my first job for minimum wage as at an office supply store that sold Apple computers, and I was Apple computer salesman, and I had never, the whole time I was there, I never sold a single Apple computer. And
We won't tell anyone.
One. And I broke one. So I was -1 for my whole 6-month first job career. And then a fellow walked in and asked me if I knew how to program, and I did. I knew assembly language programming because my father had given me this book, this tattered book, which wasn't tattered at the time, 6502 assembly. And he wrote this Happy Learning James in it. And this is what launched my career. And the key thing to know about me is that I'm a high school dropout. And the reason I'm a high school dropout is I can't stand authority figures trying to tell me what I have to do. I can't stand it. If somebody approaches me with respect, I'll do anything for them. Respect is the drug that I crave. So some of my teachers approached me with respect, and I would do all of the homework and do everything for them. And others of my teachers approached me like I was a prisoner in some kind of kid prison, and I refused to do anything for them. I would intentionally fail tests. I even got into a fist fight, actually, with one teacher years before YouTube. So otherwise it would have been on YouTube. You know, there would have been kids
Probably,
filming.
TikTok, YouTube.
If anyone had phones in those days or video cameras in the classroom, that would be an old video now that would be up with me getting in a scuffle with my teacher because he was offended that I kept skipping his classes.
Who won eventually?
Well, I was sent to the principal's office eventually, so I guess he won. I guess that was shortly before I quit school entirely. I quit school and I developed my method of self-education, which I eventually wrote about in a book called Secrets of a Buccaneer Scholar, which is my method of self-education that suits the way my brain works. So I have a strange brain, and I think anyone who knows about ADHD would probably just say, obviously, James, you have ADHD. But I have not been diagnosed by a professional with ADHD, but I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. I have a kind of brain where I can't force myself to think about the things that I want to think about. So if someone pays me to think about something and I go, okay, time to think about it, my brain says, so what? I don't feel like thinking about it. So my brain, my mind is like a pet. It's like a pet rhinoceros that I own. And a rhinoceros, you can't just pull it away from something it wants. It's just going to run right through the door. And so I feel like I have this split in my soul between the part of me that tries to make decisions and the part of me that has to do the thinking. And what I've learned is that the part of me that makes decisions has to use an indirect method of influencing the part of my brain that thinks. And it's very much like a marriage. You know, it's very much like parenting. You know, you can't, if you use coercion and power, then that causes the relationship to fall apart. So I experienced burnout many times before I was 30 years old because I kept trying to force my brain to do things for money that it didn't want to do. And Jerry Weinberg, who's written many books, whose training I took, he cured me of that. He helped me understand how to respect my mind and to get along with it so that it wouldn't rebel on me. So I've learned how to not burn out, and I've learned how to listen to my self and my intuition and treat it with respect, in the same way that I wish my teachers when I was a kid had treated me with respect. And I've learned to do that with myself so that I can think. So that's what the Buccaneer Scholar thing is all about. I don't have a powerboat of a mind. I have a sailboat. And I have to let the wind have its way with my boat. I can't sail in the direction that I want to sail in a lot of times because the wind's going a different way. It's just like sailing. And that's how my brain works. So I've been a tester for a long time because when I was a developer, I kept burning out. I didn't want to be a developer. My brain didn't want to code all the time. I like coding, but not that much. But what I found that I did like is I love complaining. Turns out I love complaining. And so how can you get a job as a professional complainer? Turns out there's a job for that. It's called tester.
Testing.
Testing. Yes, you can complain without having to fix anything. You don't have to fix anything you complain about. It's wonderful.
You just need to broke things.
If you want to get paid and hated at the same time in the company.
Remember, a tester doesn't break software. A tester breaks dreams. That's what we break.
Wow.
We break your dreams.
Listen, I'm gonna print this sentence on shirts, on t-shirts. I'm gonna sell it. Listen, it's
a positive way to say that is a tester wakes you from a bad dream, or maybe a good dream that's that's unrealistic, a pleasant but false dream. We wake you from that so you can deal with reality. That's what we do. So in that sense, we break things.
Listen, I'm gonna take this sentence to my students.
I suggest that. Just it was already broken when we got it. It didn't
Dream
break the
breaker.
software.
Who
So,
am I? I'm a dream breaker. I
there you
take
go.
dream and break it as a tester.
That's right. For fun and profit. So I fell in love with testing. And the second thing is I was an ambitious young man. I wanted to make my mark on the world. And I found that no one in the testing business seemed to be trying very hard. So I thought, what if I come in and I try very hard to figure out what testing is and could be, and what if I develop myself into be the best tester I could possibly be, a Jedi Knight of testing. And so I started doing that, and then I found out what I really love to do, which turns out not to be complaining. What I really love to do, what my calling is, I discovered when I was 40 years old. And I have been focused on that ever since. When I was 40, I realized that what I truly love to do is teach. I love to liberate other people's minds. I love to come to someone who is in a sort of prison in their mind, and I like to unlock the door. I'm not ever really unlocking the door. I'm showing them that the door was never locked in the first place.
You
but
show
they
them
didn't
the way.
realize it. I just show them the door and they walk through it and they do all the work. But most people in the world are confused for most of their lives. And if you work really hard to resolve your own confusion, so I worked for 10 years to come up with my model and way of thinking about testing. Once I'd done that, no one else needs to take 10 years to do it, because I can give you what I learned in 10 years in about a month. I can save you the 10 years because I already went. It's like solving a maze. If you're solving a maze, you go through all these blind alleys, but once you've solved it, you can tell someone, okay, down that way there's no way out. But down this way, you're going to make a lot of progress. Now, here's another interesting thing, though. If you are teaching somebody in that way, and you say, down that way is a dead end, you can't let them agree with you. That is to say, if you just agree with me that that's a dead end, you won't get the value of the learning that I got from discovering it's a dead end. So I can't. Here's an example right from testing. I'll tell you a piece of advice that I think is a good piece of advice.
Okay.
Avoid GUI level automation. Avoid it if you can.
Avoid GUI level
Automation. Yeah.
Yeah,
Avoid automation
Yeah,
through the graphical user interface
Yeah.
if you can. Use API level and lower level automation. That's better. Now, I think that's a good piece of advice, but let's try this thought experiment. What if I tell that to a young tester and the young tester believes me because I'm smart and accomplished? And so the young tester believes me and goes, okay, I will avoid GUI level automation. What happens 10 years later when that tester is now teaching the next generation and that tester says, avoid GUI level automation, and the student says, why? And they say, because, well, I don't know. James Bach told me not to do it, and I believed him at the time, but I now realize I don't really know why. He really thought it was bad, though. So now what you get is this chain of experts going back until it's Achilles telling you not to do GUI level testing because the ancient ones said it's bad. That's why. So you don't want to teach that way. Here's a better way to do it. I'll say, avoid GUI level automation, and here's why. But you have to try doing it. Try doing GUI level automation, and maybe you won't have to try doing it for 5 years like I did before I concluded that it was bad. Maybe you can do it for 6 months. Maybe you can do some of it, and then you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll have experience, and you'll be able to teach the next generation without wasting as much time as I wasted. So it is important to learn for yourself, but what a teacher can do is a teacher can make this process faster by giving you clues and hints and suggestions so that you're not completely confused going into your learning experiences, and that'll speed things up. But it is very important for people to have their own experiences. And also, someone might say, James, I was quite successful with GUI level automation in this particular context, so I'm going to change the advice and have different advice. But you see, as people have different advice over time, the system works, because as long as they say, here's my advice, now you go try it, it gives the opportunity for each generation to rethink, adjust, etc. So
Evolving
that's what I
ideas.
love to do. I love to teach, and I love to teach in that way. And I'm a non-authoritarian teacher is my deal.
Okay, so I think it was
Yeah, it's like every good teacher really guides with his ideas and experience, but some others have their own experience. So each one have even slightly different idea. Someone that is really successful with GUI automation will have maybe different approach from you, but the conclusion might be that not everything need to be 100% GUI or 100% API or something like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm a context-driven tester, so I don't believe there's any best practices, and that
There's
means
not only
I can
100% way to. Yeah.
I don't ever say never do this or always do that. Or if I do, I will say never do this, except that there might be exceptions to this rule that you will discover over the course of time, and those exceptions might look like this, and this, but otherwise never do it. So I can't bring myself to ever speak in absolutes. Except, they see I'm throwing an exception in here, unless I'm talking about something mathematical. If I'm talking about matters of fundamental logic or mathematics, then you can make absolute statements that are true for every universe. But we don't usually deal with things like that. So you'll notice that if you ever see a talk that I give, if I'm promoting a practice, I'll have at least one slide in that will say, here's when you shouldn't do it. Or here's a problem with doing this that you have to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all should be doing that, especially about AI, instead of just saying, this is great, everyone should do it. Whatever the thing you're talking about, the responsible approach to teaching is to help people make judgments rather than asking for their obedience. That's what people, when they teach best practices, they're really, anyone who promotes a best practice is asking for your obedience. They want you to shut up and obey them. That's what best practice means. If you think about it, if anyone ever uses the term best practice, what they mean is shut up
and obey.
Do what I say. Why else would they say best practice? Why wouldn't they say good practice or my
Good
favorite
enough.
practice? But they say it's the best because they don't want you to say, but I can think of a better one.
I
They don't
don't.
want you to, they don't want to hear that.
I
They
didn't
want
ask
to
you.
do- They didn't ask you. They're telling you. They're telling you what you have to do. So best practice is not an engineering concept. It's a marketing concept. It's about people marketing their ideas in a way to get you to go along with them. And I don't do that. I do different things. I argue with people. And actually, I get into a lot of trouble for arguing with people, but I think arguing with people is far more respectful than saying this is a best practice. I won't argue with you about it. I'll just tell you what the best practice is. I think doing that is terribly disrespectful compared to arguing and debating. But a lot of people disagree with me, and they really don't like arguing and debating. And one of the people who disagrees with me is my own wife, who does not like arguing, has never argued with me. In 34 years of marriage, she has refused ever to argue with me. She does not argue with me. And that's why we've been together for 34 years, is because she hasn't argued with me.
Oh, I know
Because she
you.
would lose the argument if she argued with me.
You have
So
too
she
much
never,
experience
so she
with
never
that.
Yeah,
argues.
but I'll tell you what the problem is. She'll lose, but she never admit that she lost.
She can't lose because she never argues with me. She doesn't play the game at all. Doesn't play the game at all. There's an alternative to arguing, I have to tell you. And this is my advice to young married men. There is an alternative to having arguments and debates with your wife. And that is compare feelings. So my wife doesn't argue. She just says what she feels. And then I say what I feel. And she says what she feels. And I say what I feel. And then we kind of compare who feels more strongly, and that person wins.
Yeah,
The person who wants it more gets what they want. And if you think about it, it's a self-correcting system. Because if you keep not wanting it enough and your partner keeps winning, eventually you'll say, I'm gonna win this time. And you'll decide you really want spaghetti for dinner tonight. And that's like, okay, you obviously want this more than I want burritos, so we're gonna have spaghetti tonight. And then you feel like, okay, finally I win something. So it's a simple system. It works really well. In other words, these things might look like arguments when you're comparing feelings, but we don't fool ourselves into thinking there's some kind of logic going on. There's no logic. It's just about feelings and trying to live together and care about each other's feelings. And that really works as a system. So in that way, she never gets argued at by me. I don't even use this tone of voice with her that I'm using with you right now. I speak very softly whenever she's in the room. She's not in the room, so I can talk loud. Talk loud to all my students, but with her, gentle voice softly. I speak slowly, softly, and I
Hey,
put a
honey,
lot
how
of
you doing
pauses.
today?
A lot of pauses.
So,
And
Nathaniel,
Mhm.
please never argue with me.
Okay. Let's just compare our
Let's
feelings.
compare feelings.
I get arguing is fun. I do that with my
You're doing it for
friends.
living.
My friends who my friends are mostly other men who are of my age and arguing with, and we have sort of equivalent power, and so we have fun debating with each other. And I have some students who enjoy debating with me, and there's a handful of women in my circle who also enjoy debating and like to argue about testing with the rest of us. Not that many, but not that many women are as interested in this mode of communication as there are men. But that's one reason why I love Israel. I got to tell you, because the national culture of Israel is quite argumentative, and I feel very comfortable when I visit Israel. You know, it's
This is my people.
I'm comfortable with that personally. So
You know what funny thing is? I see you all the time taking your glass and drink water or tea. We just finished a whole bottle of wine. And we just started the podcast.
you went with wine, I went with caffeine. So I'm highly caffeinated right now, as you maybe can tell because I can't stop talking.
No, listen, I think it was the longest introduction we have ever recorded.
Oh, we're still doing the introduction.
We're still doing the introduction, yeah.
Let's move past the introduction.
Let's split the podcast to 2 episodes.
I hope you're gonna edit.
I think we'll do 2 episodes now instead of 1.
Edit this any way you want. Cut it down.
Okay,
The first one we will call Introduction with James Bach.
Yeah, and the second one will be best practice. So the listeners, this will be the first part.